Craig Brown, in his biography Ma'am Darling, offered one of the most detailed portraits of Margaret's private life, allowing evidence to accumulate without overt judgment. What emerges is a woman who treated glamour as performance and hierarchy as an instrument, often directed at those least able to resist it. Born on August 21, 1930 at Glamis Castle, 4 years after Princess Elizabeth, Margaret began life as the second daughter of the Duke and Duchess of York. The contrast with her sister was stark. Elizabeth, as queen, possessed a clearly defined role. Margaret had rank, wealth, and visibility, but no equivalent function. This absence of purpose weighed heavily. Writers like Ingrid Seward and historians such as Andrew Morton describe a woman conscious of living in the shadow of perceived perfection, her frustration often surfacing as impatience or indifference. The contrast with her sister was stark. Elizabeth, as queen, possessed a clearly defined role. Margaret had rank, wealth, and visibility, but no equivalent function. This absence of purpose weighed heavily. Writers like Ingrid Seward and historians such as Andrew Morton describe a woman conscious of living in the shadow of perceived perfection, her frustration often surfacing as impatience or indifference. Former employees later recalled strict unwritten rules. Eye contact was discouraged, servants were expected to step aside, look down, and remain silent unless addressed. These practices went beyond formality. They reinforced a system in which invisibility was part of the role. Margaret's heavy smoking, reportedly up to 60 cigarettes a day, produced its own rituals. At formal events, aides sometimes stood nearby holding ashtrays so she would not need to look for one. Her marriage to Anthony Armstrong Jones, later Lord Snowdon, introduced further tension into the household. Their relationship, marked by volatility and eventual divorce in 1978, created an atmosphere that staff inevitably absorbed. Accounts from former employees describe unpredictability, moods that could shift quickly, often affecting those lowest in the hierarchy. Publicly, however, Margaret remained a figure of glamour and fascination. Biographers like Brown, Morton, and others document not isolated incidents, but patterns, the routines, the rules, the small daily gestures that reinforced hierarchy. Individually, they may seem minor. Together, they form a consistent system, one that structured interactions within her household for decades. For many years, those who served her remained silent, bound by tradition and discretion. Over time, this duality hardened into habit. What may have begun as the inherited etiquette of aristocratic life evolved into something more personal, an expectation that rank should not merely be acknowledged, but continuously affirmed. The smallest interactions carried that weight. A servant stepping aside in silence, a cigarette ash flicked without a glance, a room arranged exactly as it had been left, these became part of an unspoken system that reinforced her position at every moment. This does not make her unusual in a purely historical sense. Royal courts, aristocratic houses, and elite institutions have long operated on similar assumptions. What distinguishes Margaret is the era in which she lived. By the mid-20th century, Britain was changing. Social hierarchies were softening, expectations shifting, and the distance between classes, though still real, was increasingly questioned. Within that context, her adherence to older forms of deference appeared more conspicuous. At the same time, her public persona moved in the opposite direction. She embraced modern celebrity culture, cultivated friendships with artists and musicians, and became a fixture of high society in a way that felt contemporary, even daring. This contrast, traditional authority in private, modern glamour in public, created a tension that defined much of her life.